So, okay, welcome again. Welcome for the people who came for the first time in this room. We are now in the second talk of the Qt introduction session. And the second talk is about getting started with Qt and Android by BogDan Vatra. And he's probably, I think one can call him the father of Android and Qt. So it started some time ago, then still as a KDE project, went to Qt, and now it's a full-fledged, cool Qt project. And already to important thing, when you are leaving this room, please press the awesome button or something close to that. Okay, now BogDan.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm BogDan Vatra. As he said, I'm the original author of Qt on Android port. I started in long time ago. I don't remember since when. I think it was the summer of, no, the winter of 2009. I'm also the maintainer, the official maintainer of Qt on Android port. Now, I'm going to move faster because this presentation is quite long. It has about 60 slides. 60 slides. So, what we are going to learn today, how to get started with Qt on Android. There are 3 things we are going to see. First, how to set up development environment on Android. Then how to use Qt Creator for Android to target Android devices. And the last topic will be how about the deployment system and how to package and sign the package and make some money out of it. So first thing first, set up development on Android. Requirements, of course, you need to use one of these 3 operating systems, Linux, Windows, and Mac. Only for Windows you need to install and also you need JDK 6. But for a painless experience, I do recommend you to use Linux or Mac. Windows, well, the problem is the tools that we rely on that are from Google are not working very well on Windows. So sometimes it might not work. But if you like extreme sports, bungee jumping or base jumping, you can also try it on Windows, and if you are lucky enough, it might work. Okay, move forward. Let's see the stuff we need to install to get started. First, you need to download Qt SDK from QtIO website. When you use the online installer and you install it for the first time, make sure you pick some Android Qts. Some people just install the desktop version and they try to deploy something on Android. It doesn't work. So you need to also choose some Android, some Qt for Android. The most common one, the most used one, it's Android for ARM7. Most of your devices on your packet are ARM7 devices. Just a few are x86, and these days fewer and fewer are ARM5. Next, you need to download the Android SDK. I do recommend you to choose Android Studio and run it once. It will download, it will trigger the download of all the SDK for you, and will also set up some things on Mac and on Windows. That will enable you to use the AVDs. We'll see later what AVDs are the emulator Android virtual devices. And these AVDs for x86, in order to run faster, they need to install some things. Android Studio will install all the things for you on your operating system. If you really don't want to use Android Studio, then you can choose SDK tools. You just need to move a little bit down, and it's on the other download options. Then you, of course, need to download Android NDK. NDK stands for Native Development Kit. This is used to build your binary application, your C++ application. You need to download it from that URL. Then we need to set up everything. First, extract and install the NDK and run the Android Studio to set up the SDK for you. Then, in Qt Creator, you need to go to Tools Options, Android page, and here you need to fill the following things. First is the JDK location. If you have JDK installed on your operating system, Qt Creator will try to find it and it will fill this option for you. Then the next one is to specify the SDK location and the NDK location. If and only if you are using Linux and Mac, you should check this little option here that will use Gradle instead of Ant. Gradle is a new build system used by Google these days. They switched from Ant a few years ago, I think 2 years ago. They switched from Ant to Gradle, and Gradle will speed up your building process. When you build an Android package, Gradle will need, I don't know, a second run will need about 5 seconds to 10 seconds, but Ant will need at least 10 seconds to build your package. Okay, after you fill these 3, and only if you are using Linux or Mac, you check this box. You also need to check if Qt Creator automatically detect your kit and create a kit for Android. To do that, you go to Tools Options, Build and Run, click on Tabs Kit, and here you should see the Android kit. Okay. Next is to see how to use Qt Creator for Android. Any questions so far? Yes?
You just switch 2 slides back.
1, 2.
Yes. There's a warning. Qt versions for 3A architectures are missing.
Yes.
I always get this message.
Yes. This message means Android has multiple targets. It has multiple platforms. ARM5, ARM7, x86. These days has also x86, x8064, what was the name of the 64-bit, and also the 64-bit for ARM. I had installed only ARM7, sorry, and Qt Creator warns me that I can also add these platforms. So it can also handle all these platforms. It's just an warning that you can add multiple Android platforms. If you don't need x86 or ARM5, you are just fine with ARM7.
Okay,
Welcome. Okay, let's move forward. Using Qt Creator for Android. Well, in these slides, I'm going to show you only the Android-specific Qt Creator parts. I'm not going to present you the whole Qt Creator because I need a few days. Actually, there is how to use Qt Creator. It's another session. It will be probably a few hours or so. So, when you create a new project and if you want to target Android, make sure you use an Android kit when you create the project. Otherwise, if you have an existing project and you just want to add Android support for it, you need to open Projects Perspective, click on Add Kits, and choose an Android kit. Then, before you press Run, make sure you select an Android kit, build version, and then press Run. After you press Run, Qt Creator will find all connected devices, and it will display 2 lists here. First list is the compatible devices, the devices that you can target with the selected kit, and incompatible devices. Because I used an ARM5 kit, all my x86 and MIPS AVDs, images, this is emulators, are incompatible, so I cannot choose to deploy to these devices. If you have only one device and you want to use the same device over and over again, make sure you check this option, and Qt Creator will not ask you again on which device you want to deploy the project. Okay, but what if you don't have a device? What if you want to test on different APIs? It will be nice to have all the devices in the world, but that will be a little bit of a problem. What if you want to test on different screen sizes or on different Android platforms? Well, Android has this AVD, which stands for Android Virtual Device. This is an emulator, not a simulator. It means that it actually emulates the hardware Every single bit of the hardware, the CPU, the GPU, everything is emulated. It also means that if your application will run on an emulator, for sure will run on a real device. But your application will run slower on an emulator. So if your application runs okay on an emulator, you'll be happy because on a real device, it will run much faster. To create an AVD, you can click on this button, Create Android Virtual Device, and it will pop up this dialog. Here you can set the name, you can choose the target. Don't change the ABI because the ABI will be set by Qt Creator on the best ABI that AVD will need to use. But sometimes, as you can see here, you cannot set the scheme or the screen size or other settings. This is just a basic dialog. But if you want to more control on your AVD, then you need to go again to Tools Options, Android, and you can start the AVD Manager from here. In AVD Manager, we have more control on your AVDs. And here, if you use the AVD Manager to create an AVD, make sure you always, okay, I'm late, I know. Sorry about that. Okay, make sure you always check use host GPU. If you don't check use host GPU, the OpenGL support on that AVD will be very basic, and all your Qt Quick application will fail to run on that AVD. So if you have an AVD that doesn't support an QML application, a Qt Quick application, then use the AVD Manager and go there and check this option. Then, after you choose an AVD or a real device, be patient until it downloads everything. If you are using Gradle, it will trigger some downloads from the internet, so you need an internet connection when you first use it. If you are using an AVD, to start the AVD, it needs from, let's say, 30 seconds on the latest computers to a few minutes if you have a slower computer. After the AVD starts, don't close it. Keep it there, just close the application. Otherwise, you need to wait again a few minutes until it starts. So keep the AVD there, it doesn't need too much resources. Okay, if you press the button that I showed you, always use this architecture from now on. And if you want to target another device and you don't want to exit Qt Creator, then you need to go to Projects, Perspective, click on Run tab, expand Deploy Configurations, and here you have the Reset Default Device. After you press this button, Qt Creator will ask you again on which device you want to deploy your application. Okay, any questions so far? Page 36, okay. Okay, let's move on. Android specific settings. First, well, let me tell you a few things about Android. Every single Android application needs a manifest file. In this file, you specify which activity will start first, which activity is the default one. An Android package, you may bundle multiple activities. You also need to set permissions. Permissions are very important on Android. Without them, you cannot access different resources. What's the minimum API that you need, your application needs to run? For instance, if you are using Qt Multimedia, the minimum API version is API 13, which is, I think, Android 3.0. But if you don't need multimedia, your application will run just fine, starting with API 9. So you can also target older devices. But if you are using Android multimedia, make sure you set the minimum API version to 13. Otherwise, your application might misbehave or even crash on older devices. And many more things. To create an Android manifest file, you just need to go to Open Projects Perspective, click on Build tab, expand Build Android APK, and here you have this Create Templates button. This will create the Android manifest file for you, will copy to your project, and a few Gradle files. Then we'll open this editor for you, and here you have the following things that you need to set. First is the package name. It's very important for Android. It's a reversed URL, and it serves as a unique identifier. If you published an application using an ID, don't change it, because every single Android store will see it as a different application. Even your application has the same name. So after you published, never change it. Okay, then is the version code and version name. A version code, it's an integer number. You need to increase it every time when you publish a new application in order to update your application. And the version name, it's just a visible string that the user will see. So here you can have, let's see, 25, and here you can have 1.17 or whatever. For more information about this, check the Google page. They have some more details about versioning and stuff like that, but in principle, there are two things. Bump version code every time when you release a new version, and it will be nice for the user to see a nice representation of that version in a string. Minimum required SDK, as I said, you need to set it in order to access those features. If you need multimedia, set it to at least API 13. Okay, and the devices that has lower API versions, yes, sir? Yes. Here? Application name? Yes, that's a placeholder that is used by QMake to guess your application to replace. Actually, that's a placeholder. Yes, if you change it, that will be the name of your application. Otherwise, QMake will use the target name from your project. We need to put something there, so we put that. Actually, the next slide is about application name. Okay. Sadly, Qt Creator doesn't support translation of your application name, and if you need to translate it in different languages, then you need to check the Android documentation for that. Basically, in the REST files, you need to add these strings. Here is the ISO 2 language code. For instance, for German language, it's DE. For Romanian language, it's RO. For other languages, other 2 letters. And you translate your application name here. You put the translation name of your application here. You can't use the Qt translation things because this is Android specific. So you can't use that PO or TS file from Qt. Okay, permissions. As I said, permissions are very important. If you don't set, for instance, network permissions, you can't access the internet. If you don't set the camera permissions, you are not allowed to get images from the camera, same from the microphone, and many, many others permissions. Starting with Qt 5.4, I think, we set this automatically for you. But sometimes we set more than we should. For instance, for multimedia, because multimedia module in Qt needs permissions to access camera and microphone, and if your application only needs to, let's say, play a small movie or play a sound, when the users will install your application, we'll see that your application needs also microphone and camera. And some of them, for instance, I'll be scared why this simple application needs to access my camera or my microphone. So to fix that problem, you need to uncheck these checkboxes and manually include all the permissions your application needs. Don't add too many permissions because your users will not install your application. This is an example how it looks. So I have the package name here, a version code, a version name, the minimum required SDK, the target SDK is the SDK that is the SDK version of the device that I use to test my application, the application name, my application name, and that's it. But sometimes you need to edit manually. Qt Creator allows you to do that, and you can switch from design mode to manual mode, clicking XML source code, and it will show you the XML source file. To go back, you just need to click on General button again. Okay, the final part is deployment and packaging system. Any questions so far?
What about the permissions for Android 4.4 and the external SD card?
Yeah, that was a problem. That was a problem on all devices. Actually, the problem was in Android 4.3, and it was fixed in 4.4, as far as I know. So if you set the permissions, I want to write on SD card, it will allow you in 4.4 on all devices. But I don't know if the previous version allows you that. I don't remember exactly the version name. Yes, sir? There is no support yet, or I don't know for how much, for how long, in Qt Creator for CMake on Android. So if you want all the features of Qt Creator like debugging, installing and everything, if you want to manage your package in Qt Creator, then you must use QMake. Okay. Deployment system and package signing. Every single Android application has 3 different deployment systems. You can choose from these 3. First one, it's Ministro service. This is a little service that I created when I started this project, because back then in 2009, 2010, most of the Android devices had very, very limited space on the devices. Actually, the biggest one was around 200 megabytes or 250 megabytes, and imagine that you want to install 5 Qt applications, and back then the whole package was around 50 megabytes. That was the whole space of the device, and that was not okay. But Ministro does something else, does something smart. What it does, it downloads all the Qt libraries, all the Qt files, not only libraries, because, for instance, Qt QML needs also some QML files, image files, and so on. Downloads all these files in a central location and sets on all the files read-only permissions. So every single application on the operating system can access these files. This way, your package will contain only the application code, your binary, and the application data. When the application starts, it tries to connect to Ministro service. If Ministro is not there, your application will open the Android Play or what's the default store in your phone, and will require the user to install Ministro. The user will see only Ministro, it's filtered, and after the user will install Ministro service, and the application succeed to connect to Ministro, then it sends a list with all the dependencies. Ministro will download only the missing ones. So if you start the application now and the Ministro will trigger the download of the libraries, when it starts again, it doesn't trigger anything, and it just starts. After Ministro downloads everything, it replies with a list of all the things your application needs to load before it loads your binary. Because your binary depends on Qt libraries, all the Qt libraries must be loaded before it loads your binary. And the Java part of your application, by the way, every single Android application has a Java part, including those so-called native Android applications. Also those have a Java part, but it's hidden, it's in the Android SDK. And the Qt Java part of your application loads everything, and then it starts, it loads also your binary, and it starts your main function. The advantages of using Ministro are your application only needs to download Qt libraries 1. It can detect the CPU and download optimized library. For instance, on R5, it can download Qt libraries compiled with VFP support. On ARM7 with Neon support. It can upgrade Qt libraries without requiring a new application release. So you get those fixes without needing to release, to recompile your application to upgrade it on Android market. It allows multi-platform APKs because your binary is small. You can put in the same package all the platforms, binary for ARM5, for ARM7, or for x86. Can be extended to support your non libraries, and you have no legal issues because the Qt libraries are coming from Ministro, not from your package. The downside is that some user doesn't find it very user-friendly because when they install your application for the very first time and no other application needed Ministro, your application will not start immediately. It will trigger the Ministro installation and so on. Some people are afraid that Ministro upgrades Qt libraries behind and back and might break things, but in 5 years or so, we didn't break any libraries, any applications, so it's quite safe. And the worst problem is that Ministro doesn't work anymore on Android 5.0 and more, because Google decided that no application can load the library from other location than its own location. So because Ministro, every single application on Android is sandboxed, and because Ministro set the read-only attribute, but also visible to everybody, now all the applications that are trying to load the libraries from Ministro location fail because the new restriction that was added in Android 5.0 in the linker. What? Okay. Bundle Qt libraries in APK. This is the second way to deploy your applications. What's happening? Hello? It goes black. Neither I. Okay, let's speed up then. So, bundle Qt libraries on. Come on. So the advantages are all the libraries are, okay, I think I need to play like this. All the APK contains everything the application needs to run. You can include your own Qt builds. You don't need to use those provided by Ministro. And the Qt libraries are not updated behind the back. The downside is actually the advantages of Ministro. You can target multiple platforms because Qt libraries, all of them are 40 megabytes in size. Of course, no application will use all Qt modules. It will be crazy to use Quick 1 and Quick 2 in the same application, or script and QML in the same application, or widgets and other stuff on the same application. An average application will use about 15 megabytes of Qt libraries, less than 50. 15. Come on. Okay, you can't use VPP on ARM5 devices, neither Neon on ARM7, because not all ARM7 devices have CPUs have these features. Qt libraries can be shared by multiple applications, of course, and you also need to check with your guys if you can really that will break things. Okay. With the LGPL license, the LGPL requires you to allow the user to recreate the APK with its own Qt libraries. So you need to give something to the user in order to repack everything with its own Qt libraries. Deploy local Qt libraries to a temporary folder. This is the third one. Don't use it in production. This is mostly used by Qt hackers when we actually hack on Qt. When we change Qt, is the fastest way for us to check if we break something or we did something good. So for you, don't use this in production. Package signing. Any questions about the deployment? Yes, those options are in Qt Creator. Yes, but you need to choose which one you want to use in order to deploy your application on Android market or on your own device. Package signing. First, you need a certificate. If you don't create a certificate yourself, then Qt Creator can create one for you. I don't know where. Okay, by clicking on this button, it will pop up this dialog. Here, it's a very straightforward dialog. You need to fill everything here, and it will create a certificate for you. After it creates the keystore file for you, where it contains the certificate, always make sure you create backups, but not backups on your computer, backups on other things, because if you lose this key, you will not be able to upgrade your published application sign with this key anymore. Again, you will lose your application, and you can't replace the application on the store with the same ID. You need to create another application. So always make sure you create backups. Nobody can generate the secret key for you from the signature. Okay, to sign an application, you must go to projects, build and expand build APK page. And here you just need to select the keystore or create one. Click on the sign package. A keystore can contain multiple certificates, so you can choose which one you want to use to sign this application. Click on Open Package Location after build, and if you see this little warning here, it means you are trying to sign a debug build, and you should choose a release build instead. After you press the build button and the build succeed, Qt Creator will open the package location for you, and if you are using Ant, make sure you choose this package. If you are using Gradle, it's only one choice. To check if the signing was really succeed, it can't fail, but some people want to check. You can use this tool, and if you see this message here, jar verified, then your package it's signed correctly. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. What's the time?
Now we can play.
Okay, questions? Yes?
Is it possible to use certificates from a hardware token to sign the chart?
It is possible, but it's not required. You can use your own self-sign certificate. You don't need to pay VeriSign or other authorities for that. Google doesn't require. Actually, the signing is for your own protection. It's not to make Google rich. It's not like Apple. Because every time when you upload an application, the application ID must, Google Play will check if the application ID is signed with the same certificate. And the certificate is for 10,000 days. It's around 25 years, I think.
Aesthetically linked Qt libraries in an Android application?
Sorry?
Aesthetically?
No. No, only dynamically. On iOS, they're always statically linked. Yes? Qt widgets. Well, Qt widgets actually are done on all platforms, not only on Android. On Android, I managed to push the styling. Most of the widgets are okay. The look is okay, but the feeling is different. The feeling is like desktop widgets, right? You don't have all the animations, all the nice stuff that you will have in if you are using, for instance, Qt Quick Controls. Quick Controls have some animations, and the feeling is better. Okay?
What's the best way to unit test your applications?
I think the best way is the best Qt way, which is using Qt test model. It is supported.
Yeah, but on the device?
Also on the device, for instance, it's a small Perl script that I wrote. It's in the Qt source code. You can use that, and that one will start your application on your device. And after the application exits, it pulls the results, and it also analyzes the results for you. And if something is bad, stops the building process there. Yes?
What do I have to do if I want to use the program on x86 Android 2?
You need to download Qt for Android for x86 and press run button. That's it. Sorry? It will create the package for you. You just need to pick the package from here, deploy, upload it on Android Play Store, and that's it. If you are choosing to bundle Qt libraries inside your APK, which is the second deployment option, then your APK probably will be way too big to fit multiple applications, multiple platforms in the same APK. So you need to upload multiple APKs for every single, an APK for every single platform. You upload an APK for ARM7 and another APK for x86. And that APK contains x86 libraries and your binaries. It will run only on, and it will be visible only on x86 devices, Android devices. Only those devices will see it.
Like Google, they APK
15 megabytes, yes. No, those are all Qt libraries, but the APK size is much smaller because the APK it's a zip archive. They're much smaller. Well, if your application for a single platform goes beyond 50 megabytes, then you need to use the ABB. What's the exact name? It's OBB, sorry. OBB, which is the APK expansion pack, something like that. Well, the problem is the libraries that you need to use are coming from Google, and last time I checked, they didn't work very well. If you need an OBB, if you need another file, then it's easier, because you just need to download it. But the OBB, the problem is when you create the OBB file, that is just an image with a FAT file system, right? And the tool that creates that image is not the best in town. It crashes most of the time. It doesn't add all your files and stuff like that. It's really one of the best Google tools I ever used. The worst, sorry. Sorry, the worst.
As far as I know, the case is compiler of your
No, GCC is the default compiler. Clang was added a year ago, something like that, but it's in a beta.
So I can configure configurator resistant.
When you create multiple activities, every single activity must be a separate process. It can be the same process. On Android, you can have multiple activities in the same process, but Qt is not designed to have multiple UIs in the same process, because you have only one event loop, and you'll need multiple event loops, and it will crash if you try this. So if you set the activity, hey, this must be run on a separate process, then it's okay. Yes?
If I'm using, for example, the last GCC compiler, can I use all the C++?
Yes, 11, 14, and also a subset of 17. No, no. Actually, the QPA module of Android platform has a lot of C++ 11. I wrote it most with C++ goodies, 11 goodies. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your time.